this one is just sort of bizarre. And I don't think that Trump would have an issue with this. I don't think he's going to use this. But it is indicative of a guy with some serious mental issues. And I mean, the word narcissism gets thrown around quite a bit, but this is sort of like, this seems to be clinical. Listen to this story.
I know. And let's skip over his early life, the short version being he grew up in Florida, was a standout baseball player, and even got to the Little League World Series with his local team. He then went to Yale, then Harvard Law School, and subsequently joined the Navy as an attorney. Eventually, he married his wife, Casey, despite having the most bizarre dating tactic I have ever heard. According to a former classmate, DeSantis would apparently tell dates he liked Thai food, but pronounced it thigh. And if they corrected him, he would make up an excuse and leave because, quote, he didn't want a girlfriend who corrected him. And if that is true, wow. Just imagine being on that date. You're out at dinner and out of nowhere your date tells you that he really likes Thai food. And you think, wait, did he just call Thai food Thai food? I must have misheard. But then he goes on to say that he knows a great Thai food restaurant in the area, all while staring very intently at you, almost studying your reaction. So as politely as you can, you say, wait, do you mean Thai food? Like from Thailand? And then suddenly his face drops and he says, sorry, I forgot I have a doctor's appointment tonight, and he leaves, leaving you both with the check and the single greatest first date disaster story of all time. Then, flashing forward.
You know, I mean, the point is, honestly, like that is the behavior of someone who is a clinical narcissist, and God knows what other sort of like control issues he has when it comes to his wife and his family and just other places. But that is, you know, you have to be somewhat narcissistic, I think, to run for office. But this is another level.
And misogyny also works very well hand in hand with homophobia, transphobia, because you have these very strict rules about how gender needs to be performed. And if you want a submissive wife, it would make sense that you have those kinds of views. Like when I first heard that anecdote, I thought, oh, is he just being kind of a dick, like testing his date's intelligence or her, you know, culturedness, that's where my mind first went. But it's no, he's doesn't want to be challenged. He wants to be the man of the castle. He wants like a 1950s style relationship.
Here is John Oliver breaking down DeSantis's supposed war against wokeness. This is important to understand that, you know, so much of his attacks on so-called wokeness is completely made up. It is just basically an attack on black people. You know, he's attacking the vapors and he's making them up. But here is this is a good run from Oliver.
It's not just sexuality in DeSantis' crosshairs. He's also passed an act called the Stop Woke Act, which limits the ways concepts related to systemic racism and sex discrimination can be discussed in schools. And to hear him tell it, laws like that are badly needed because the wokeness in schools goes way deeper than anyone might think.
I will have math books sent to my Department of Education for review, these textbooks, and they will do things like woke math. And I'm thinking to myself, 2 + 2 = 4. It's not 2 + 2, well, let's have a struggle session over that. How do you feel about it? No. There's a right answer here.
I mean, out of context, he's completely right there. Numbers don't have feelings. If they did, this one would be sad, this one would be giggly, and this one would be exciting for a few minutes, but then the novelty wears off and it mostly just gets tired and sore. DeSantis has claimed that his state had to reject math books for containing indoctrinating concepts like race essentialism, especially bizarrely, for elementary school students. Now that is a big claim. And if it sounds like bullshit to you, that's because it absolutely is. Reporters for these outlets combed through thousands of pages of elementary school textbooks and their reviews and couldn't find any such examples. And when the DeSantis administration eventually produced just 4 tiny snippets of what they claimed was objectionable material, 42 that came from grade school books, there is nothing about race, although one does suggest students practice with empathizing with classmates while they fulfill a lesson objective of identifying numbers from 1 to 5 in sequence. That is it. So his big claim of woke math and race essentialism in grade schools is basically regular math and trying to teach kids not to be dicks to each other. A kind of math education that DeSantis himself, frankly, might have benefited from, as his solution to figuring out the difference between 1 and 3 questions seems to be yell until the other person stops talking. And the most recent thing you may have heard about are books being pulled from shelves in Florida schools, with viral images like these making the rounds online. Now, in classic fashion, DeSantis has pushed back on those images hard.
They've tried to create in Florida
Pause it for 1 second. I just want to touch on the empathetic line so that people understand what that's about, if there is any complaints about it. When you have kids who are learning to sequence numbers, right? They're quite young kids. They don't know that 2 necessarily comes after 3 or 4 or 5, or they're struggling with it. One of the things that the teachers are probably told to do, because that is obviously, you don't have kids reading this lesson plan, is to make sure that the other kids don't mock the kids who don't get it.
Yeah.
Who might say 1, 4, 5 or 1, 4, 3, 5, because it inhibits a kid's ability to learn if they are afraid to try and get the answer right, because they are being shamed by other kids.
Yeah, well, might as well just give them a participation trophy.
I know that's a little bit namby-pamby for people.
We should be traumatizing kids as they attempt to learn this stuff. It's the only way we can be strong as a nation.
They are the pro-bullying party.
Again,
that's consistent.
We're probably talking about like first graders, maybe kindergartners. I can't remember, but here is
he's against empathy because that got in the way of, his watching as Guantanamo prisoners were tortured.
Force-fed and sure.
Yeah.
Those images hard.
They've tried to create in Florida a narrative. It's basically a book ban hoax. It's a hoax what they're doing. And they're trying to say that because we have parental rights and because we have curriculum transparency, if you have a book that has hardcore pornography for in a library that 10-year-olds can access, a parent objects to that, that does not satisfy Florida standards. It should not be in the library with those young kids. And I think 99% of parents agree with that.
Okay, first, let's debunk the most egregious claim there, because 99% of parents don't agree on anything. I'm pretty sure you can find at least 10% of parents who are against covering electrical sockets in reach of toddlers. They're called zap moms, and they're all about letting kids discover their own limits of electricity. But I will give DeSantis this. There has been some misinformation floating around online. This viral list of books that were supposedly banned statewide in Florida circulated widely, but it's nonsense. Having said that, those images of empty shelves are very real and are the direct result of DeSantis' actions, because he signed legislation mandating that only approved books could be included in any school or classroom library, and that approval must come from a certified media specialist. That led some districts, including the ones those photos are from, to tell teachers to remove or cover books, not because they were pushing a false narrative, but because they were trying to comply with DeSantis' stupid law. And while DeSantis might say, well, this isn't overreaction because those books will return once they are approved, not all of them. Because thanks to his new law, as well as that Don't Say Gay bill and his Stop Woke Act, he has turbocharged a movement among conservatives to get books removed from libraries that they just don't like. And this goes way beyond removing hardcore pornography, or the usual kind of give and take between parents and school boards that has been going on for decades now. What DeSantis has done is make it so anyone in a community can challenge these books. Reporters tracked down one woman who submitted 21 book challenges in one county, only to find that she's a retiree with no children who fully admits that she hasn't read all of them, but I've read them in partial. So basically, she just skimmed them and said, I'm pretty sure nobody should read this, which is coincidentally exactly how I feel about Ron DeSantis' new book, but I'm not trying to get it taken out of...
I mean, that's... but that captures, honestly, that captures the dynamic that's going on here. Talk about... I mean, that's what... it doesn't get more authoritarian than that. and the anti-trans and sure will lead itself to the homophobia, well, the don't say gay. I mean, that's where the sort of like fascy part comes in.
Yeah, and I would recommend, it got excerpted in Harper's, but Mike Preisner talked with somebody who was tortured at Guantanamo about how DeSantis was there as a lawyer, looking on as they were force-fed insure to make them more compliant. So war crimes.